Well, hi there, and welcome to Jump to It here on irishracing.com. We are going to be focusing on the Saturday, the final day of what has been a terrific Royal Ascot. I think it's fair to say we've had all sorts of drama, some wonderful action, lots of controversy, a few points which we will get to on the Monday review show. We're going to park those to one side. We'll let Stephen Harris go off on a rant next week. But for now, we're going to focus on the action. Of course, I'd like to bring in the aforementioned Stephen Harris and, of course, Vincent Finegan as well. Great to see you, gentlemen. Vincent, you must have really enjoyed this week. It's been brilliant so far.
Oh, fantastic racing. Yeah, it really is. It's probably gone up a notch from previous years, I would have thought, and particularly what we're going to see on Saturday with the international aspect again to the big sprint. So I think it's been a terrific week. I think Ascot is growing year by year. It really is. Probably from a flat perspective, it's definitely the Cheltenham of flat racing, but I'm sure the people who are really into flat racing think it's even better than Cheltenham. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's been sparkling, hasn't it? I've loved every second of it. Stephen, as I said, we'll park the negatives and the rants to next week. We'll save that one, keep that one in your locker. But in terms of the quality we've seen on track, I mean, Baaeed, Nature Strip, the Ascot Gold Cup winner himself, of some sparkly 2-year-olds. I mean, it really has been top draw stuff.
Yeah, there's been some real talking points said, hasn't there? Paul Hannigan, of course, wiping out half the field on the Riddler.
Here we
That's
go.
got everyone talking on. But we will save it for Monday. But there's been some fantastic racing.
Yeah.
I mean, Frankie Dettori on Thursday had an absolute nightmare. He got turned over on Reach for the Moon. Stradivarius was given a... Well, I think John Gosden's still absolutely fuming. The owner apparently was absolutely furious in the paddock afterwards. So all fun and games. But it's been brilliant racing, and we've had proper fast ground. What a difference. For once, we haven't got to talk about overwatering or different parts of the track being favoured. It's been a pretty level playing field, fast times, fast ground, top-class racing.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Summer racing, let's have summer ground, and everyone seems pretty much to be happy. Right. Speaking of the racing, let's crack on with things for Royal Ascot on the Saturday, as I mentioned, the last day of this extravaganza. Gets going at 2:30, I should say, with the Chesham Stakes. This listed contest with 14 runners due to go to post. Now, the market is all about one horse. That is Alfred Munnings, this son of Debarwi, who at the time of recording is a best price 10-11. Vincent, you can take the reins on this one. I mean, would you be with the Ballydoyle representative here, or do you think the value lies elsewhere?
Well, I certainly think the value lies elsewhere, Ed. It's a very short price. Yep. This is a half-brother to Snowfall, which obviously is a fair recommendation on its own. Never mind the fact that it won odds-on debut, a 4.5-length victory at Leopardstown. Aidan has won this 4 of the last 6 runnings. We're also looking at the fact now that when Alfred Munnings did win in Leopardstown, the second horse has been beaten since, but the fourth one next time out. It's very hard to equate some of this form. A lot of the horses in this, there is no collateral form from their debut wins. There's a few other interesting Irish ones in this, and I thought maybe there's a bet in here. Is a horse called Crypto Force of Michael O'Callaghan's. He had Crispy Cat in the first race on Thursday, which was very unlucky in running and still finished third. So it's a good run. His 2-year-olds have been performing very well this season. And Crypto Force beat a Ballydoyle hot pot on debut with the Curragh by 2.25 lengths. Works very well at home, according to O'Callaghan. And this race has been the long-term plan. I wouldn't be surprised to see Crypto Force being a major factor in this. Then there's another Irish one in it, which is also very interesting, is a horse called Pearling Path. This is trained by a guy called John O'Donoghue. He's now training out of John Ox's yard, Curragh yard on the Curragh. So it's a famous yard he's in. He's only there a short period of time. He only started last season. This was his first juvenile winner when it won in Fairyhouse. It was well backed both starts, well backed the first day and didn't run that well on the Curragh, but they reckoned the ground was too soft. It needed quicker ground. It won well the next day. So that's one to look out for at a big price. Might have a squeak somewhere, run into the places. In this race, John Gosden has 3 runners, and out of the 3, I really like one of them to run well. It's a horse called Faisal Road. It doesn't look to be his first string, but it won a Yarmouth Maiden. And what's interesting is there's only 5 runners in it, but the second, third, and fourth all won next time out. So it looks to be pretty decent form, and it's one of the best pieces of form we have in the race. So it's a very interesting race. I think Alfred Munnings is too short at odds on. For me, Crypto Force would be worth a little bet.
Yeah, that's a good point now. Also interesting, I thought Colin Keane's riding for John Gosden, isn't he, on One World, who's had the one
Yeah.
start, the one win, that Cedar Stars colt. Yeah, it could be a race with great strength and depth. And as you say, lots of unexposed individuals. I just got to get a disclaimer out there. If you see me sniffing and my face like a big balloon, I'm in the hay fever capital of Europe, according to the news this morning in Gloucestershire. So, yeah, apologies in advance to all viewers there. Right, on to the 305, the Jersey Stakes, then, Stephen. Noble Truth heads the market here around 4-1. 15 runners due to go to post. How are you summing this race up?
Well, I thought Noble Truth was probably quite vulnerable. He won a small field race the other day at Newmarket where he raced with the choke out and soon went clear. He certainly won't be able to do that here on his own unpestered, and he'll need to be a lot more settled to see things out in a much better race. So I started off by thinking we need to take him on. It's a very, very trappy race. I mean, Samburu's done nothing wrong, but he has got to improve on the bare form of things. Dettori's booked to ride him at the moment. I'm sure he'll probably still keep the ride. I'd imagine John Gosden's absolutely fuming after what went on Thursday at Royal Ascot. I think he's priced up short enough on form. The one I like is Monada, who's a typical flat horse. He only started racing in March. He had a run at Maidan, so obviously none of us had really heard of him when he came over here. He's run twice and won twice on the all-weather at Newcastle in May and on the 1st of June at Kempton, where he made all the running. That was a really good race. The runner-up audience was stable Nap, very well backed, and gave him a proper race, and the pair of them were 5 lengths clear of the rest. I think at the time it was one of the better races run at Kempton on the all-weather so far this season. Now, Monada does go on to fast turf here, but that proved no problem on good ground at Maidan back in March. So I think with Syed Bin Sur going well, he's the one to side with. But this is a race for very small stakes. I think it's extremely open and trappy.
Yeah, it is indeed. But just on the wider point with Syed Bin Sur, he'd almost become the forgotten man in many respects, having a little bit of a mini revival, isn't he? I mean, when you associate him with Real World and some of the older horses, he's getting a couple of 2-year-olds to come through and look promising, and yeah, some of the younger crop as well. So maybe Syed's going to have the second win. I mean, everything naturally has just been eyes focused on Charlie Appleby over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's been an amazing turnaround. He's 4 winners from his last 20 runners. They've obviously got a lot less horses. I think they've probably got less than half that they used to have. Obviously, Charlie Appleby trains the bulk of them now, but he does do well. His horses have been running well. The handful he's had have run well at Royal Ascot this week. I thought Monado is probably a double figure price on the exchanges, probably worth chancing it. You might be getting probably twice the price. He's probably achieved almost as much as the front of the market. So, yeah, very trappy race. There'll be extra places around, I'm sure, if you want to play each way, but it's probably not that kind of races. It's probably a small stakes, find 2 or 3 that you like and back them to win rather than trying to play each way.
Yeah, indeed. The unbeaten Monada for Stephen there. Jim Crowley in the saddle for the aforementioned Syed Bin Sur to land the Jersey Stakes at 305. On to the 340. Group 2 action on your cards here for the Hardwicke Stakes. It's also just worth mentioning at the time of recording, ground is officially good to firm. Various weather forecasts throughout the week suggesting we could get as much as 8 or even 10 millimetres of rain on the Saturday. At the time of recording on the Friday morning, though, Stephen, it seems there's been a bit of a U-turn on that, isn't it? I don't think we're going to get the rain that perhaps some connections were hoping for on the Saturday. So worth just bearing in mind. Coming to this race, 8 due to go to post. A bit of rain, if it did arrive, wouldn't be a problem. For Hurricane Lane, of course, which is an absolute mustard individual last season. He is your 4-6 favourite. And, I mean, are there any chinks in the armour there, Vincent, with this one? Do you think perhaps the Irish could cause a minor upset with Broome? Or is there something else to get involved?
Yeah, no, I think Hurricane Lane wins. I actually think Hurricane Lane is a good price, to be honest with you. You're talking about a horse that's an Irish Derby winner, 3rd in the Arc in Longchamp. It gets no Group 1 penalty here either, which is interesting. And then its seasonal debut is what it is, but every time the horse has run fresh, it's won. So I'm finding it difficult to find a reason why Hurricane Line ground might be a consideration, but realistically, I don't think so. The opposition then, you've got Broome. Broome was second in this race last year to Wonderful Tonight, but Broome ran in the Arc as well, finishing 9 lengths behind Hurricane Lane. Broome isn't exactly in sparkling form either, so I'd be struggling to see Broome being a major danger. Outside of that, the interesting thing here is we got 8 runners, so you can bet each way if you don't want to take on the short or take the short price about the favourite. And one interesting one here, Solid Stone, looks to have a bit to find on form, but trained by Michael Stout, and Michael Stout has won this race 6 times in the last 11 years. So that alone would be a pointer in the direction of Solid Stone, which was a recent winner at Chester.
Yeah, absolutely. Look out for Solid Stone there. Of course, some familiar colours as well. I think it's fair to say the Derby winning colours, Solid Stone there. Richard Kingscote, of course, is having a great season. The Derby winning jockey, he is in the saddle. But generally speaking, this looks Hurricane Lanes to lose. Official ratings would perhaps suggest that as well, that he does have a fair bit in hand over most of his rivals. Right, the 420, the Platinum Jubilee. This is a terrific contest. 27 declared for this one, Stephen. I mean, again, we saw Australia turn up and wipe the floor with everything in the King's Stand at the start of the week, didn't we? Nature Strip, in my mind, producing the most emphatic performance of the week so far. Well, Chris Waller has Home Affairs here, who's soaking up a huge chunk of the market. And if the market is anything to go by, he's expected to win this and do this quite convincingly. Best price 2-1 in your 27 due to go to post.
Yeah, I mean, this is a race that's going to divide opinion, isn't it? You're going to get some terrific value about some top-class sprinters if you're not a believer in the Australian form book. And by the same token, what we've seen of their other horse earlier in the week absolutely blitzing and destroying the King's Stand field, there's going to be a lot of people who think 2-1's a fantastic price. They're all a stone clear of the UK, of France, of Ireland. So it's going to be an interesting betting race. I mean, from a bookmaking perspective, you know you're going to lay the favourite. You're going to lay 10 of the others as well. This is a really, really good betting race. The one I selected, and he's actually my long shot for later on in the show, but is Minzal of Owen Burrows. Another yard. We were just talking about Side Bin Suror. Owen Burrows has laid off half of his staff. He's lost 3/4 of their horses virtually. Obviously, one of their main owners disappearing, cutting right down. But he's still doing quite well with a limited team of horses. And I thought Minzal probably just needed the run at York on the 11th of May when finishing third in the Clipper Logistics. Running well, just one pace from the furlong pole. I suspect he'll strip fitter for that run. He's a 4-year-old who's been lightly raced in his career. He's only had 7 runs in total, winning twice. He goes really well on fast ground. You're now going to get bigger than 20-1 because the Australian horse is going to be so short. I think that's a really good bet. We always say this and bore on about the same thing, but this must be a race where the go-ahead firms are going to be looking for sort of 6, 7, 8 places again. It's a huge fit. The standard terms for punters in this sort of race are a fifth the odds the first 3, normally speaking, which is diabolical. But the bookmakers will definitely bend over backwards to try and take some money here. And if you want to play each way, there'll definitely be 6 places around. It shouldn't be too difficult to get that. So Minzal for me, hopefully strip fitter for York and should go really close with conditions to suit.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheap pieces on for the first time. Good point about Owen Burrows. You could do with a bit of a fillip, couldn't he? His stable star Wokingham won convincingly at Epsom and has possibly run his last race after suffering an injury in the process of doing so. So yeah, he could do with a big time performer. No better place to do it than in a Group 1 on Saturday at Royal Ascot. Vincent, I mean, are you going to wave your Australia flag here? I just thought it was quite funny, actually. Stephen got in his favourite phrase of a stone clear. Now, we normally associate that with the Irish jumps form over the English jumps form when we're doing the Cheltenham preview, but he's given the possibly the stone clear for Australia here. Nature Strip, of course, absolutely destroyed the field earlier in the week, and Home Affairs is coming here with a pretty big reputation, having, of course, beaten Nature Strip on his penultimate start.
Yeah, that's right, in Flemington in February. So, like, he's a stable companion of Nature Strip. He's beaten them already. He's a younger horse. He could be anything. He could absolutely be anything here and probably will win. One that I do like, I think it has a chance. If it produces its best form, is a Case of You of Ado McGuinness's. If you remember, this won at Maidan and back in March. And what was interesting about the day it won that big sprint in Maidan was it was drawn right out on the wing. And that really suited the horse. Having no other horses around it on the edge of the field, really suited, won very well that day. And again here, there's 27 runners and the horse has drawn 27. So I think this has a definite chance here with the draw alone. A Case of You on its day, definitely a contender here, but we just don't know how good these Australian sprinters are. And then as well as that, we've got a very good American sprinter in here, that Campanelle as well, which has been a winner at this meeting the last 2 years as well. Got it by default last year in the Stewards Room, but wins 2 years in a row, coming back for a third go. That has to be a contender as well.
Yeah, indeed. You make a good case for a case of you. Previous winner, the Abbey, of course. You say on official figures, right in there for an 18-1 poke. So definitely one to take note of. I could throw a couple in here again. Steve makes a good point. You're getting decent prices about good horses. I mean, alcohol free is the joke with the pack in my view. I mean, this is a Coronation Stakes and a Sussex Stakes winner, for crying out loud. I mean, that individual has amazing form when you look through it. Dropping back to 6, Andrew Balding just thinks normally horses get slower as they get older, but he thinks it's the opposite. She's just raring to go. He can't keep a lid on her. I thought she's definitely of interest coming back down in trip, had a track where, of course, she's won before. And then I've gone for an absolute Hail Mary in here from an each-way play. Van Dream for the informed Charlie Fellows. For Danny Tudhope, who's having a bit of a week to remember. This individual's got some very smart course and distance form. And I thought if we did get a bit of rain, that would only enhance that one's credentials. But again, you're either with Australia or you're against. Or I suppose you can accept you're with Australia, but you're playing for the places, as Steve would say, shop around. But I'm sure bookmakers will be tripping over themselves to give away 7 or 8 places by the time we come towards the off. So yeah, the Platinum Jubilee should be a terrific contest. Will be quite funny if both of the top level sprints at Royal Ascot do go to Australian Raiders. Right, on to the 5 o'clock. Now we have the Wokingham Stakes. Nice, easy one for you here, Vincent. I'm sure you've got this tied up. The 1, 2, 3, etc. 31 runners going to post. Rohan heads the weights. He won the race last year. Ryan Moore booked to ride again for that David Evans representative. The market would suggest that Black Rod is the one they've all got to beat. And I mean, that individual, Conor Beasley and Michael Dodds, drawn in stall 25, one last time out. Are you looking for recent form, Vincent? You looking for back form, or you're going to sit on the fence and leave this one out?
No, I think it's a bit of a stick a pin in it now, to be honest with you. The current favourite is that horse Fresh of James Fanshaw's number 25 on the card. It has a good record here. It's a course and distance winner, but I do think it wants softer ground. So the ground is going to be the key to quite a few of these in here. You've also got an Irish one in called Urban Beat. Johnny Murty, he's got his good buddy Frankie Dettori out to ride it. But the horse is out of form and it definitely needs soft ground. I also think it's too high in the rating. So that's one to oppose. And my book now, it'll probably be a biggish price anyway, certainly double figure price. Another one here that's towards the top of the market is a horse called Quarantine Dreams, which is trained by Ken Condon. It's a 4-year-old. Now, it's only won one race, but it has been run at listed level all the way along. This is the first handicap, so that's interesting. It has one very good run last year where it was third to Romantic Proposal in a Curragh sprint. If it reproduced that, you'd definitely be giving that a squeak off its rating. But the one I like here, I'm going to stick my neck on the block with a mad one. It's an old-timer, Summergand. A 13-time distance winner, David O'Mara and James Doyle. Thing here is it's drawn 27. I think that's a good draw, drawn out high. I think I've looked at it. There looks to be a lot of pace on that side of the field. I think that will suit. The horse goes really well on quick ground. It's dropped 10 pounds since last October, which is a fair drop in the ratings for a high-class performer. Not getting any quicker, I'd imagine, but at the same time hinted at a big return to form when 6-22 at York last month. Wouldn't be surprised to see Summergand run a big race here.
Yeah, interesting one. Summerhand, as you say, dropped down the weights now. Yeah, £6 lower than when last in the winners' enclosure as well. So handicaps go well. The visor back on. James Doyle in the saddle for the David O'Mara team. I'm glad we got you off the fence eventually there, Vincent. Yeah, it's that type of race though, isn't it? It really is tricky. I'd thrown in Tabdeed, my selection for Archie Watson, of course. Won the Coventry. Holly Doyle was on board for that winner. She's on board here. It's an individual good course of distance form. And I thought ran a real eye catcher when dropped back to 5 furlongs at Haydock last time out, shaping as though a return to 6 would definitely be in that horse's favour. Right, on to the 5:35 then, Stephen. The Golden Gates handicap. I'll let you take this one away. Missed the cut, 3-1 favourite. Are you with or are you against?
Well, I thought this is a really short price, Mr. Cut. He's a typical horse who's going into handicaps, and people are going to think, well, he could be well treated off 95, but he's won a couple of races that have fallen apart. He's been 7-4 on. He's won by about 11 lengths at Pontefract, which is one of those tracks where they win by a wide margin. For some reason, it doesn't tend to work out elsewhere, in my opinion. They tend to stop there when they hit the hill. And at Salisbury last time, I thought the ground was possibly a bit softer than the official good, and he stormed clear. I mean, he could be anything. He could be a group performer in a handicap. that old cliche, but he's going to almost have to be off 95. And his inexperience could count for plenty. He's been running in small fields in novice races, and this is a 300 runner Royal Ascot handicap on much faster ground. So I started off wanting to be bang against him. The one I like is probably a slightly sort of lower profile stable, but he's got a similar profile to the short price favourite, Phantom Flight of James Horton. Now, James Horton only got a handful of horses. He's 0 from 4 in the last fortnight, but he's had some winners earlier in the season, and he's got some really nice horses. And this one, again, only started off racing at Newcastle back in March when absolutely clueless green for pressure, finishing second. But he's improved since to land the cash at Redcar and at Haydock last time out. That was a proper race over a mile. The two of them, a while, was Stable Napper, the Crisfords, and Phantom Flight, who came under pressure quite a long way out, but stayed on really strongly to get the better of that rival. I thought it was a really good effort, and he goes up in trip here. His opening handicap mark of 95 should be within his compass. Again, a double figure price. I thought he'd run really well. Frankie McDonald booked. He's open to loads of improvement, and maybe sometimes at Royal Ascot, Ed, if you find these trainers who aren't particularly public names, if they're not Stout, Gosden, Wesley Ward, I think you can get reasonable value. And if Phantom Flight was probably trained by one of the bigger names, I think he'd be a bit shorter than 10 or 12 to 1 here.
Yeah, good point you make there. Phantom Flight, 12 to 1, best price. Definitely one to take note of there, it has to be said. Right, we're on to the last, the lucky last. I think it'd be fair to say, well, hoping it is anyway, as far as Vincent's concerned. Now, we've got to put the disclaimer out here. We've got our hands tied to some extent because Trushan has been declared for this race. Holly Doyle on board, who is your best price, 11 to 8 favourite. Depending on what rain arrives, okay, Alan King declared the horse, saying that he saw weather forecast said substantial rain was forecast for the Ascot area. Latest forecast at the time of recording on Friday morning suggests perhaps not as much as we first thought. However, we'll do it on the basis of Trushan does run here, Vincent. I mean, Trushan lining up 5 to 4. Is it a case you think he'll just be too good and the others won't see which way he goes?
Yeah, I think so. If he turns up, and it's a big if now at this stage, like this, I'm thinking the horse will be withdrawn, because I don't think the rain is going to come, not sufficient rain at least. That'll be the 6th time this horse has been withdrawn, having been declared. All withdrawals, all to do with ground. It's a bit frustrating every time you see Trushan in. You don't know what you do. The market becomes a mess every time, as it did earlier in the week with the Gold Cup as well. So I'm taking it. I don't think Trushan will run, but if Trushan runs, it's a winner. It looks a winner. Everything will be right, presuming the ground is sufficiently soft enough, but I can't see that happening. So outside of that, I think this is going to be an Irish victory. We've got 3 very strong contenders here. We've got Stratham first off, which won the race last year, Willie Mullins' horse. It's a 9-year-old now, not getting any younger. Doesn't come here in particularly good form, but you couldn't totally rule it out. But the other 2 Irish runners definitely have strong chances. You've got Wordsworth. Now, it's never raced beyond 2 miles, Aidan O'Brien's, but Aidan has had the Irish have had 5 wins in the last 10 runnings of this, so there's a strong chance there will be an Irish winner anyway. But the one I really like here is Falcon 8. Definite contender on form and on figures. Beaten favourite in this last year when only 9th, but that was on softish ground. It won the Chester Cup back in 2021, and then it finished 5th in that this year, but that looks like a very good run. If you go back to that race, the race was won by Cleveland, which was 2nd here earlier in the week. The 2nd horse home was Coltrane, which won here during the week. The 4th horse home was Arcadian Sunrise, which was 3rd here earlier in the week. So the form looks very solid there. I presume Dermot Wells haven't exactly been setting the world alight at home, but he did have a winner in the last week. You couldn't rule that out. I think Falcon 8 will be thereabouts. If they all run, Falcon 8 looks a fair bet each way. But outside of that, if Trushan comes out, I think Falcon Flight will probably end up favourite. Or Falcon 8, I should say.
Right,
I keep calling the Falcon
Yeah,
Flight.
no, I think you make a lot of sense there. Yes, a strong Irish representation. I'm actually of the view, I think I'd back Wordsworth to beat Trushan with Trushan in the lineup here. Wordsworth gets £11. Let's not forget, due to the conditions of this race. I think that could make quite a big difference, it has to be said. Anyway, we shall see come the day whether the mighty Trushan will line up or not. Right, that pretty much wraps up our race-by-race preview. Right now, time to pin you to your selections, gents. Stephen, you can kick us off. Give us your 3 best bets for Royal Ascot on Saturday, please.
Yeah, the betting expert Nap goes in the 340 unoriginal Hurricane Lane, who I think you're going to get 5-4 on about. Perhaps people are worried about firm ground for the first time in his career. He's only ever raced on good or softer, and perhaps they're slightly worried about the trip. He was a St Ledger winner over 1 mile 6.5, and he's back to 1 mile 4 here. So I think Buick will be very much aware of that fact. I think he'll be positive. I wouldn't be surprised if he led or sat second. We have seen a few short price favourites beaten this week. Bay Bridge, Reach for the Moon, horses who've been ridden for a turn of foot that hasn't materialised. So Ascot is quite a sharp track on fast ground. You don't want to be more than 2 or 3 lengths off the pace turning for home. And I think Buick will be aware of that on Hurricane Lane. I thought he ran an absolutely amazing race in the Arc. 8 months off won't be a concern. Because of maybe the ground, you are going to get a fair price, but this is a very, very weak renewal of the race. I think they're all Group 3 horses at best in behind, and he's a top-class performer. So he's a strong Nap. My value angle selection goes in a nice, easy race, the 5 o'clock. I thought Fresh was bound to run well here. I think if you can get 10-1 each way, extra places. He's run 5 times at Ascot. He's been in the frame every single time. He's won once over this course and distance. He ran an absolute screamer over 7 here in the Victoria Cup when finishing 4th behind Vafortino. He drops back a furlong. They're going to go 1,000,000 miles an hour. I think he'll go really close. He's still improving. 3rd run back this season. He should be absolutely spot on. And my long shot, we've mentioned already, in 4:20, Minzal, Owen Burrows, thought ran really well at York in a strong race. Should be 20-25-1. It's a very hot race. I think he'll give you a good run for your money.
Excellent. So for everyone there, as you say, Hurricane Lane, would be interesting to see where they go with him after, providing he comes back. Interesting how they map out the rest of his campaign. Right, on to you, Vincent. Your best bets, please.
Yeah, I'm similar to Stephen here. I think Hurricane Lane is the Nap. Obviously, it won't be the price that's on the caption there. It's going to be odds on. There's no doubt about that. But Hurricane Lane, for me, I think it's different class. Runs really well fresh. Be very surprised if that gets beat. Then for a value bet, I'm looking at Crypto Force in the first. That's Michael O'Callaghan's unbeaten juvenile. Beat an odds-on shot of Aidan O'Brien's first time out, which was well touted. So it looks fair form. He thinks this is a nice horse. He's had a nice 2-year-old runner already this week that finished 3rd on Thursday. So I'd be surprised if that's not out of, if it's out of the first 3. I think it'll run well. And then just a poke in the Wokingham, Summergand. I think the horse ran well the last day. Loves the trip, loves the ground, presuming it's fast. And I think Summergand could run a big race at a very nice price.
Wonderful. Some good value there from Vincent. I've gone for a few crazy ones on the Saturday. I thought this is really, really hard. It has to be said. But my Nap will be Wordsworth. Even if Trushan lines up, I think this horse is crying out for a proper test of stamina. Finished 4th in the Cigaro on his penultimate start, staying on over 2 miles at Ascot on that occasion. Just looks an out-and-out stare in my book. Tabdeed is my value pick here in the Wokingham. Horses run well at this track before. Let's say Shape Well went 3rd in the listed race last time out over an inadequate 5 furlongs. Got going too late. Back up to the 6 here. I think we'll be in the mix with Holly Doyle on board. And then the crazy one, Vadreen in the Platinum Jubilee. This horse has form figures at Ascot 3, 1 and 5. Including that win coming over course and distance. And with the Charlie Fellows team in great form, and Danny Tudhope amongst the winners recently, I wouldn't be shocked if that horse could make the places at a big price. Many thanks, gents. It's been absolutely fantastic. So I'm actually streaming buckets here. I'm going to go dip my head in some local honey or whatever they recommend to do these days. But no, it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for watching at home as well. It's been a terrific Royal Ascot, I think it's fair to say. Join us again on Monday. We'll be doing the review show. We'll let the handbrake off with Stephen. He can get a few issues off his chest from some of the more, how should we say, negative points we saw throughout the week at Royal Ascot. But yeah, of course, don't forget to check out all of Stephen's tips and best bets on bettingexpert.com. All the latest news, views and features on irishracing.com. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.